B. Learn about the contribution of a great woman to our environment. We have a special responsibility to the ecosystem of this planet. In making sure that other species survive, we will be ensuring the survival of our own. The first African woman and first environmentalist awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, Wangari Maathai, 1940 to 2011, received that honor in 2004 as the founder of the Green Belt Movement in Kenya, a non-profit organization dedicated to planting trees, environmental conservation, and women's rights. Maathai introduced the idea of planting trees with the people and developed it a broad-based, grassroots organization designed to conserve the environment and improve women's quality of life. In 1986, the Green Belt Movement established a Pan-African Green Belt Network and has introduced over 40 individuals from other African countries to its approach. The movement set both short and long-term objectives. The overall aim has been to create public awareness of the need to protect the environment through tree planting and sustainable management. More specifically, it has initiatives to promote and protect biodiversity, to protect the soil, to create jobs especially in the rural areas, to give women a positive image in the community and to assert their leadership qualities. It promotes food security and assists people to make the link between environmental degradation and many of the problems they face, including poverty and livelihood insecurity. Over its first 20 years, many of the movement's objectives have been achieved. Environmental awareness has been greatly increased in the world, and many women's groups have sold millions of seedlings to the movement, using the income to meet immediate domestic needs such as education of their children or investing it in other income-generating ventures. Tree planting has become an honorable activity and many people have adopted it. In later years, Maathai's own work had focused on the human rights situation in Kenya. Standing up for a democratic, multi-ethnic Kenya, she was subjected to defamation, persecution, detention, and physical attacks. Maathai received numerous awards and honorary degrees. Time magazine identified her as one of 100 most influential people in the world in 2005, and Forbes magazine as one of 100 most powerful women in the world. In 2007, she was awarded the Nelson Mandela Award for Health and Human Rights. In 2010, the Lions Humanitarian Award and the International Freedom Award. She died from cancer in 2011, but her legacy continues in many projects worldwide, such as in Plant for the Planet, the Billion Tree Campaign. Marie Curie. Life is not easy for any of us. But what of that? We must have perseverance and above all confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be attained. Marie Curie. Do you know who was the first woman to receive a Nobel Prize? Or the first person in history to achieve the remarkable feat of winning 2 Nobel Prizes? Do you know who is the only woman to receive 2 Nobel Prizes, and in 2 different scientific fields? The answer to all of these questions points to one extraordinary individual, Maria Salomea Sklodowska-Curie, more famously known as Marie Curie. Let us read an account of the life of this great woman, adapted and slightly abridged from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Early life. Marie Curie, née Maria Sklodowska, was born in Warsaw on November 7, 1867. The daughter of a secondary school teacher. From childhood she was remarkable for her prodigious memory, and at the age of 16 she won a gold medal on completion of her secondary education at the Russian Lycée because her father, teacher of mathematics and physics, lost his savings rough bad investments. She had to take work as a teacher and at the same time took part clandestinely in the nationalist, Free University. Reading in Polish to women workers at the age of 18, she took a post as governess from her Carnings. She was able to finance her sister Bronislawa's medical studies in Paris, with the understanding that Bronislawa would in turn later help her to get an education. Moved to Paris. Pierre Curie and the first Nobel Prize. In 1891, Sklodowska went to Paris and, now using the name Marie, began to follow the lectures of Paul Appel, Gabriel Lippmann, and Edmund Bauty at the Sorbonne. There she met many physicists who were already well known. Sklodowska worked far into the night in her student quarters garret, and virtually lived on bread and butter and tea. She came first in the license examination of physical sciences in 1893. She began to work in Lippmann's research laboratory and in 1894 was placed second in the license examination of mathematical sciences. It was in the spring of that year that she met Pierre Curie. Their marriage, July 25, 1895, marked the start of a partnership that was soon to achieve results of world significance, in particular the discovery of polonium, so called by Marie in honor of her native land, in the summer of 1898, and that of radium a few months later following Henri Becquerel's discovery, 1896, of a new phenomenon, which she later called radioactivity. Marie Curie, looking for a subject for a thesis, decided to find out if the property discovered in urantum was to be found in other matter. She discovered that this was true for thorium at the same time as G.C. Schmidt did. Turning her attention to minerals, she found her interest drawn to pitchblende, a mineral whose activity, superior to that of pure uranium, could be explained only by the presence in the ore of small quantities of an unknown substance of very high activity. Pierre Curie then joined her in the work that she had undertaken to resolve this problem, and that led to the discovery of the new elements, plutonium and radium, while Pierre Curie devoted himself chiefly to the physical study of the new radiations. Marie Curie struggled to obtain pure radium in the metallic state achieved with the help of the chemist André-Louis Debierne, one of Pierre Curie's pupils. On the results of this research, Marie Curie received her doctorate of science in June 1903 and, with Pierre, was awarded the Davy Medal of the Royal Society. Also, in 1903, they shared with Becquerel the Nobel Prize for Physics for the discovery of radioactivity. The birth of her two daughters, Irene and Eve, in 1897 and 1904, did not interrupt Marie's intensive scientific work. She was appointed lecturer in physics at the École Normale Supérieure for Girls in Sèvres, 1900, and introduced their method of teaching based on experimental demonstrations in December 1904. She was appointed chief assistant in the laboratory directed by Pierre Curie. Death of Pierre and second Nobel Prize. The sudden death of Pierre Curie, April 19, 1906, was a bitter blow to Marie Curie, but it was also a decisive turning point in her career. Henceforth, she was to devote all her energy to completing alone the scientific work that they had undertaken. On May 13, 1906, she was appointed to the professorship that had been left vacant on her husband's death. She was the first woman to teach in the Sorbonne. In 1908 she became titular professor, and in 1910 her fundamental treatise on radioactivity was published. In 1911 she was awarded the Nobel Prize for Chemistry, for the isolation of pure radium. Throughout World War I, Marie Curie, with the help of her daughter Irene, devoted herself to the development of the use of X-radiography. In 1918 the Radium Institute, the staff of which Irene had joined, began to operate in earnest, and it was to become a universal center for nuclear physics and chemistry. Marie Curie, now at the highest point of her fame and, from 1922, a member of the Academy of Medicine, devoted her researches to the study of the chemistry of radioactive substances and the medical applications of these substances. In 1934, Marie Curie died as a result of aplastic anemia caused by the action of radiation. Her contribution to physics had been immense, not only in her own work, the importance of which had been demonstrated by the award to her of 2 Nobel Prizes, but because of her influence on subsequent generations of nuclear physicists and chemists. Marie Curie, together with Irene Joliot-Curie, wrote the entry on radium for the 13th edition, 1926, of the Encyclopaedia Britannica. In 1995 Marie Curie's ashes were enshrined in the Pantheon in Paris. She was the first woman to receive this honor for her own achievements. Her office and laboratory in the Curie Pavilion of the Radium Institute are preserved as the Curie Museum.